Welcome back to Unstoppable, the elite mind and body podcast for men. I'm your host, Taj Howell. Welcome back to the show. This is episode 53. We're going to discuss the reason why you need to stop focusing on the person you used to be if you want to start creating the ultimate you. Okay. So, first and foremost, self-actualization means living up to your full potential on this planet. Okay. Every single human being in the world has some sort of potential. Okay. Now, I believe that it is every single human being on this planet's mission, or should be their mission, to work every single day on actualizing their highest potential. Because if you can do that, you can build the life that God intended for you. You can build the family that God intended for you. You can build the belief in yourself that God intended for you. And you can ultimately do God's work and become the absolute best version of yourself in the eyes of your creator, in the eyes of yourself, and in the eyes of everyone around you. Okay. Self-actualization is the most important thing in my entire life that I focus on. Now, I want to talk about the reason why people need to stop focusing on who they used to be. Okay, because there's two main areas that people focused on that holds them back from actually becoming a better version of themselves. The first one is when you focus on who you used to be from a positive perspective, Okay, so when this means living vicariously through past experiences. So let me give you an example. You know that guy who's like, man, like he always talks about like his football days. You know, when he was in shape for football and he used to run like a 5-second, what is it, 40 yard sprint. I forget what it's called, but the guy who's always talking about, his past football experiences or his past track and field experiences or being the captain, the quarterback of the football team, whatever it is. And he's constantly living through the past when in reality now he's completely out of shape. He's got a big pregnancy belly hanging over his freaking belt. But because he's living in the past, and he's focused on the past, he's not taking action on getting in better shape. Okay, it's the same thing with the people who peak in high school, right? They had the best high school experiences. They got all the girls. They were popular. They made money. They had a nice car, and high school was just like this glorified experience for them. But because they're living in the past and they're focused on how cool they were in high school, they can't seem to find the motivation and the drive to build themselves as an adult. Right. It's the same thing with people in college. People in college have the same kind of experiences. Especially if you go to a fraternity or a sorority, you have all these great experiences, all these amazing experiences, all these amazing times with people. And then you get out into the real world, you become an accountant, you get super lazy, you get super overweight, and you end up just constantly drinking and thinking back to your past college days. Right. Now, the thing is if you live in the past positively, it can hold you back from wanting to become a better version of yourself, which is the biggest problem. Okay. Now, if you live in the past negatively, that can be an even worse thing. And what I mean by that is this: if you have past trauma, right? Things that happened to you in your past that were terrible. Maybe you lost someone. Maybe you got abused. Maybe you got verbally abused, sexually abused, assaulted, maybe had some sort of trauma, or maybe even going through a divorce in your family while you were, a teenager, and you had to see your parents hate each other and, rip the family apart, whatever it is. If you have past trauma and you can't get over those things, that can almost create a blanket of blindness to where like you don't even see your own potential because you have so much past trauma that's holding you back from literally taking any sort of action towards becoming the best version of yourself. Now, this blanket of blindness hovers over you until you learn to let go of the negative experiences, let go of the negative emotions. And this can be much harder for some and much easier for others. Now, depending on your current situation and what the trauma is, it's very, very, very important to seek the help that you need, journal things out, and to focus on bettering yourself for yourself as opposed to focusing on the trauma. Now, the next thing is when you have past bad decisions or regrets, right? We all have some of these, man. When you made the decision to take your parents' car and you drove it and fucking crashed it or something, or like a past experience or past decision that you made with work that maybe got you fired, right? Like me, I worked at Best Buy for about a year. and I asked a girl out on the floor and like texted her afterwards after I found her number in the system, and like they fired me because I was like a creep. You know what I mean? Like I regret that. But here's the thing is, if you dwell on those past regrets, those past negative decisions that you make, you're going to be less open to making new decisions, right? You're going to be less inclined to make new decisions because you don't trust yourself when you make decisions. Okay, I hope you understand, right? Another way that people focus on who they used to be negatively is when there's been past addictions, right? Past addictions. And so for myself, I've battled alcohol, I've battled cocaine, I've battled weed, I've battled a bunch of different like addictions per se over the years. And so I know what it's like to focus on those and think about those and worry if you're ever going to get out of that kind of place. Right. And so for any of you out there that look to your past and realize, hey, I was an alcoholic for these years, or hey, I was doing drugs for these years, or hey, I was doing, something that I definitely shouldn't have been doing and putting things in my body that I definitely shouldn't have been putting in my body. That can make you anxious to start putting good things in your body, because you're so used to putting bad things in your body that putting good things in your body seems like it seems negative. It seems wrong, right? Now, let me give you an example. I see a lot of the times when a client of mine has an addiction with drugs, or had an addiction with drugs or alcohol in the past, it's a lot of times really, really hard for them to start eating clean food consistently and start exercising consistently and actually focusing on their health consistently, because they're so used to poisoning themselves that was their reality for years, right? Poisoning themselves was a reality for years. And so flipping that and focusing on health feels unnatural to people when they're when they have past addictions. And so focusing on who you used to be can hold you back in so many ways that most people don't even consider. Another one is limiting beliefs from childhood, right? Like when your teacher tells you you're dumb, or your parents tell you you're lazy, or you have ADD and everybody's trying to fix you at school, or you were called like the bad kid, or everybody knew you as like the bad boy growing up or whatever, and you focus on those things, it can make you feel now in the present as an adult as if you're broken, right? As if you're broken. And if you're a broken person, how can you possibly find happiness, right? Find happiness. How can you possibly become whole? You're going to constantly be seeking some sort of way to fix yourself externally, as opposed to finding ways to heal yourself and grow internally so you become a better person. And so that being a bad person or dumb or lazy or having ADD, whatever it is, are not things that plague you anymore, right? Now, I want to tell you a couple stories. Story time right now, okay? The reason I want to tell you some stories is because I like to let you guys in on who I am as a person, because I think it's important. And not a lot of people on social media actually talk about their stories. You know what I mean? Like, people just portray this perfect image of themselves, and they're perfect all the time. They have this perfect life, and like everything's perfect and everybody's happy and sunshine, lollipops, and fucking rainbows. And that is not the case. It is not the case. Most people on social media are just giving you the surface level of where they are in life, and where they truly, what they think of themselves is a lot of the time much different from what they portray on social media. So I want to be the type of person where you come to my page, you see me going live 3 to 5 times a week, you see my content, and you see an actual person that you can trust. You see someone that you can listen to my stories and be like, man, I relate to this dude, because this dude's an ex-addict. This dude used to drink a bunch of alcohol. This dude used to watch porn. This dude used to play video games until it's 7 a.m. Like, you're going to be able to relate to me because I'm going to tell you all my stories, and I'm going to give you my past experiences. Okay, now, story number 1, back to my bar days when I was a bartender, right? I used to, when I was a bartender, drink every single day, 5 to 6 days a week. And then on the days that I would have off, I would drink also. And then most of the days that I was at work, I would do cocaine. I would be doing cocaine until, 12, 1, 2, 3 a.m. And so what happened was I started to develop this like internal belief that like I was this person who like I was just a partier, right? I just had this belief where like I was just a partier. I was the life of the party. You know, I could make anybody have a great time, which was great at the time. But for that identity to bleed into my life now, if I were to focus on that, then I would constantly be seeking external validation from people and getting people to like me, trying to get people to like me, trying to get people to see me as the life of the party or see me as someone who they want to hang out with, right? So what I did over time was I slowly cut out all of those substances to the point where I'm at now, where I drink on occasion, maybe a couple times a month, and I don't drink in like crazy excess. I just focus on like a couple drinks here and there with my friends. I don't do cocaine anymore. I don't smoke weed anymore. I don't do those things anymore. And because I've shifted my habits and I've shifted, instead of focusing on who I used to be, I'm now focusing on myself now and who I want to become. It's much easier for me to stave off those bad habits. Now, let me give you another example, which is a lot different than people would typically think as is going to be an example here. Bodybuilding, right? I am a decorated bodybuilder. Okay. No matter what people say, all the commenters and the haters on my TikTok and on my Instagram, I am a WBFF pro fitness model. I got my pro card when I was 21. I was one of the youngest in the entire industry. And I'm an IFBB pro men's physique athlete. I got my pro card when I was 24. I could go compete right now in either federation as a pro if I wanted to. So I'm a decorated bodybuilder. Here's what I will say about bodybuilding. If I focused on who I was when I was a bodybuilder back then, right? Because I haven't bodybuilded in a number of years since before COVID. If I would focus on, I need to look like a bodybuilder, I need to always be a bodybuilder, I need to still have that kind of sense of ego of like how I need to be big all the time and just be constantly getting huge, then I'd be taking a bunch of drugs, right? I'd be taking a bunch of drugs because I'll be honest with you guys, bodybuilders take a ton of drugs, right? They take a ton of Tren, they take Deca, Test, D-Bol, Anavar, Superdrol, Winstrol, HGH, Clen. They take a bunch of drugs, right? And so here's the thing. You see people like, what's that guy's name who dropped dead? Joe Stetics, okay? You see people like Joe Stetics dropping dead at age 30, right? Because the steroid use is so much. If I was focused on who I used to be, which was a competitive bodybuilder. I don't consider myself a competitive bodybuilder anymore. Like it's just not my identity right now. Maybe I'll compete in the future, but right now that's not my identity. But if I was focused on who I used to be, which was a professional competitive bodybuilder, I'd still be taking all these drugs. I'm almost 30. I'd be taking the same amount of drugs as Joe Stetics. I could drop dead next year. I don't want to drop dead. I got way too much to live for. I have way too many things to do, right? Way too many things to do. If I would have focused on the past version of myself and continued taking drugs just to feed my ego and to be this giant freak beast like you see on social media, so many of these influencers are, I'd be taking the same amount of gear as Joe Stetics was. And if I was, I'm almost 30. I could drop dead in a year, and I do not want to do that. My identity now is to be in exceptional physical condition at 180 pounds, able to motivate the shit out of you guys because I'm extremely ripped, extremely aesthetic, and also on top of it, be able to surf any conditions in the world. I want to be able to surf. I'm a surfer now. My identity is, yeah, I'm jacked, but I'm also a surfer. And I can't be a bodybuilder and a surfer at the same time. If you ever see a bodybuilder try to surf, it's like a whale on a surfboard. It doesn't work that way, right? So my identity now is that, but my identity in the past was a bodybuilder. So you cannot focus on who you used to be if you want to become the best version of yourself, if you want to become the next level version of yourself, if you want to live life for the now and for your future, you can't focus on who you were, right? Now, what I want to talk about next is creating the ultimate you. You can stop it now and then restart. But creating the ultimate you, because here's the thing. In order for you to know what to focus on, you've got to know who you are now, right? You've got to know who you are now. And so I want you to ask that question, but I don't want you to just ask it in like a generic sense. Like, who am I? Oh, I'm 42. I have a family, got 2 kids. I'm an accountant, blah, blah, blah. No, it's like, dude, who are you, man? Like, what do people say about you if you died tomorrow at your funeral? Who are you? Legit. What kind of person are you? What do you stand for? What are the things that you believe? What are the things that you tolerate in your life? What are the things that you don't fucking tolerate in your life? Who are you? Right? People have this kind of identity crisis where they don't even know who they are, and so they're unable to show up authentically in their lives. And if you're unable to authentically show up in your life, you can never become anything that you want to become, because you'll always be floating around as a person that you think you should be instead of being who you truly, authentically fucking are. So I want to ask you this question. Who are you? What do you stand for? Who do you want to become? Right? Now, the next thing is we need to have a vision, right? So now once you've written out, who am I? Like, truly, what are my core values? Who am I? What do I stand for? Who do I want? Like, who am I? What is my identity? The next step is to create and craft a vision, right? And I told you guys in the last episode what my 10-year vision was. It's an absolutely ridiculous, massive vision. I believe that if you're the type of person who wants to truly live a great life, you need to have a vision that's scary and that you don't even know whether or not you can achieve it or not. And if you go back to the episode yesterday, you'll hear my vision is absolutely bananas, right? It's bananas. It's insane. And it's because I know for a fact that I can achieve those things with the right mindset, the right skill set, and the right consistency over time. And so you need to have a vision for your life that's super strong, that actually pulls you and propels you towards it. And in doing so, it's going to help you figure out who you can be. And here's the point of all this, guys. Instead of focusing on who you used to be and being unable to actualize your highest self now, we need to focus on who you are now in the present, truly who you are, what your vision is. And ultimately, by focusing on who you are and what your vision is, you'll start to understand who you can be through growth, through building your mind, through building your body, through becoming a better person, through building your spirituality, through showing up every single day, regardless of how you feel, and doing everything you're supposed to do because it's your duty, it's your responsibility, right? In order to create the highest version of yourself, you have to know who you are. You have to know what your vision is, and you need to be focused every single day on becoming who you can be, not who you were in the past. Okay. Now, guys, I love you all so much. If you watched this live with me, thank you so much. I love every single one of you. I hope you guys have the best day of your lives. I hope you guys have the best workouts ever. I hope you have the best mindset ever. I hope you're super positive. I hope you're super grateful. Always be grateful for everything in your life. If you're listening to the podcast version right now, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I love you too. I hope my voice isn't annoying you. I hope you like my voice, because, guys, I'm going to continue doing this podcast for the next 10 years. That's my goal. I'm just going to keep doing it for 10 years. 3 episodes a week for 10 years. You're going to see this mug giving you some freaking good ass content. I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.